I can't believe we live in Portugal and this is our property. Hey guys, it's Aman and welcome back to our Lakeside property here in Portugal. Today's video, we are going to be talking about our landscape plan for our property. Now we have almost 4 acres of land that has everything on it. I mean, we got a well vegetated piece of property here with lots of trees, shrubs, plants of all types. And when you have such a variety of plant life on your property, you really have to have a plan to manage it. This whole thing could get out of control as soon as you start to be lax with it. And it's really important that we stay on top of our landscape, not just for aesthetics, but for safety. We have to make sure that our vegetation doesn't get out of hand and creates a hazard, a fire hazard. We have eucalyptus trees that are very flammable, so we have to figure out a way to manage that. And our neighbors, everyone around us, we're all working as a team to make sure that if that day ever comes, that we have done the right things to our property to keep everyone safe. So let's have a walk around and talk about what we plan on doing. So first, let's start with the landscape on the lake house level. This is the first level, the first terrace of our home. And you can see we have shrubs, some fig trees, flowers. A lot of this stuff you have to prune, manage, stay on top of. Otherwise it gets overgrown and it loses a lot of the aestheticness. So the vegetation around the house, it's going to be impacted when we do the construction. We're going to try to minimize it as much as possible, but we do know that when we build the addition to the home, when we rework this entryway, a lot of this is gonna change. And until we truly understand what's staying and what's going, it's important to maintain it. So let's have a quick walk around to see what we're working with. There's some fruit trees on this level, some roses. This is a really cool vine that goes up to the house. It's gonna be a challenge to try to hang on to that because a lot of the construction that we're gonna do to the house is gonna take place on this side of the house. So I hope we can preserve that somehow. But that one plant isn't gonna dictate the whole project. We've got all of this, so much. Now, I'm gonna take you guys up to this. This is almost like a bonus level. So this is the bonus level of our house. That's our house right there. But this level up here has completely gotten out of hand. This is going to be one of the first areas that we clean up when we take care of this landscape. From this level, let's go down the steps and this really cool trellis. Now, how cool is this? This vine, this trellis goes all the way back here. The thing that is a little treacherous about this is that this is a rose bush. There are thorns all along here. And again, if you don't manage this, a hazard. But to get a feel for how far this goes back, I'm gonna keep walking and let's see if you guys can still see me. I'm still going, I'm still going. I have another 10 feet to go before I reach the end of this from right here. But it's so overgrown that I can't get back there. The other thing is that there's a metal structure that's holding up this trellis that is rusted, it's falling down. That's gonna need to be repaired because this isn't at the height that it should be. I can, you know, the further back I go, I have to stoop down lower and lower. And this should really be something that is easy to walk over. I don't think we're gonna do anything major to this level yet until we're done with the renovation of the house. We're gonna focus on the other terraces, but I just wanted to just show you guys what was on this level so that you have an idea of what's required to maintain something like this. So from the house, we can go down to the orchard level by either walking back that way or taking the stairs here, which is another shortcut down to the orchard. Let's take these stairs and go down this way. Oh, there's some thorns over here. And this is also completely overgrown. The orchard isn't in a condition that we really want it to be. I would like this space to have a nice lawn, grass that you could walk on with your shoes off, that you could sit out here and have dinner at a nice table, that if someone wanted to use our property for an event or a wedding or a reception, this space would be nice and leveled and manicured. And when you're out here, it's really nice because you can smell the citrus. But there's a problem that is a side effect of having all of these oranges. When these oranges are on the ground, they create fruit flies. Once they start to rot, they create flies. They also attract, I think, wild boars. And we're going to talk about that in another video, but I think that's why some of the soil out here is completely torn up. But that's the problem with having so many oranges, and it's going to be a challenge with this orchard. How do we stay on top of it? How do we make sure that the fruit doesn't fall to the ground and rot like it is over here? You know, when we lived at our other house in Lorasal, I think we had about as many oranges, you know, but we were living there full time, so it wasn't a problem for us to stay on top of the oranges. We were always making juice. I know when we come up here, we'll certainly pick a lot of oranges and take them with us. From this orchard level, this grass is really high. Again, I would really like to have a nice manicured lawn that has grass that doesn't require a whole lot of water, a whole lot of maintenance, but it's something that you can walk on. It feels good under your feet. So, after the orchard level, let's talk about the next area that we're going to be maintaining. Okay, so before we get down there, you guys see all these eucalyptus trees. These eucalyptus trees are all over our property. And so we're still trying to figure out exactly what to do with them all. We've talked to a couple of sawmills that will actually buy the trees from us. They'll come in and they'll cut them down. The only thing is these sawmills, they're used to harvesting basically properties that are just, that's all that property is like a ton of eucalyptus trees or oak trees. They're used to just coming in with heavy equipment that damages the land, that just goes in and just starts cutting everything, and the trees are falling every which way. Because this is our home, they have to come in here and be a little more delicate. So I'm meeting with one of the sawmills this Thursday. They're gonna come in and they're gonna give us an assessment of whether or not they can do it, because you should see the equipment that they use when they harvest some of the trees in Portugal. It's big, it's industrious. It leaves some serious footprints in the ground. The wheels just really tear up the dirt and the soil. So that's not gonna happen here. They're gonna have to come in and be a little bit more precise. So when we start to think about how we maintain this area over here, there's not really a lot of vegetation on the ground here. There's no grass, there's not many shrubs. There's just the trees. So it's just, you know, when the trees need to be pruned, they'll be pruned. The trees that we're gonna remove, like some of the eucalyptus trees, we'll take those out. We have this pile over here. I think the previous owner was just throwing whatever they had over into this pile. If a tree would fall down, if they would do some landscape work, they would just pile it up over here. The problem with that is that usually when you're piling up garden debris, you usually put it in an area of your property where you can have a controlled burn. And this is definitely not the area where you want to have a controlled burn. And all of our neighbors, they all have something similar to that. You know, when we lived on the Silver Coast, in our country house there, we had an area on our property where we would have our controlled burn. Pretty much everyone did it the same time of year. And so I need to find a place here on the property that is organized, out of the way, and a safe place to do controlled burns. Okay, so the landscape that is around the mobile home, this landscape, it's really beautiful landscape. You know, it doesn't look like there's a sprinkler system set up to any of this stuff. A lot of this stuff is like, it's not native to Portugal, but it's very resistant types of plants over here. They don't require a lot of maintenance or water, just your typical pruning. So we're gonna keep all the landscape around the mobile home. And if you guys saw our mobile home project video, you'll know that we have some plans for the mobile home, and a lot of it's gonna involve keeping the landscape. Now behind the mobile home, this area is also gonna be cleaned up by the garden crew. They're gonna clean up that area. Oh, that's such a nice cactus. I love that. Now, when you start to get into Corkville over here, man, this area has so much potential. So much potential. Think about how you could utilize this space. You could have terraces of lawns. You could have so many things here. This could be a glamping site, a site for parking mobile homes. There's so much you could do with this area. The problem is that the land isn't leveled. So that's what we need to do. We need to figure out how we're gonna level and terrace this area of the property, right? What's the groundscape gonna look like? Now this is a focal point of this terrace, is this beautiful cork tree. It's massive, it's beautiful, but it's really not being highlighted well enough. I mean, first of all, because this area is overgrown and not well managed, you lose sight of this. But this cork tree, and also that one over there, you guys can't see that one. There should be more of an emphasis made to these by creating some sort of landscape design around it. So whether it's pathways or seating, something to really highlight the beauty of this tree. I can't even imagine how old this tree is, but when you feel the cork on it, it's so soft. It's just like amazing to think about. And it's massive when you look up to the top of this tree, but it's being lost in all of this chaos. So once this gets manicured and taken care of, this is going to be an amazing space. It has so much potential. And then when you come down here in Corkville, we got to think of a better name. You have things like this thorn plant. The fence line to our neighbor's property is right there. But see, I don't want this to get out of hand. The more this grows, the more of a challenge it is to take down a thorny bush like this. You know, and you get into a situation where you have to call in some serious professionals to take care of stuff like that. And the ground here is all torn up, all completely uneven. I'm not sure how it got to this level, why it's so out of control, but we've got to bring some equipment in here and straighten this out because it's not usable like this. Now, we're still on the cork level, and you get to the edge of our property, and this area over here, I didn't even realize this was over here. Wait a minute, let me look at this a little bit more. This is a really nice space. It's shaded. It has more of these cork trees coming out the ground, and it looks like a little secret hideaway or escape. Look, it has its own little view of the lake. This is really special. This is a very special location. Let me get back here. Let's see, there's thorns and all types of crazy stuff over here at the edge. And this is really nice. When you're sitting here and you're quiet, you can hear the lake. You can hear the lake flowing, actually. Oh wow, this is really nice. Now I can see one of my neighbor's properties over there, and their landscape, they have these big luscious lawns that go right down to the water. I like that idea. I'm gonna steal that. I'm gonna steal that idea. You know, I mean, there has to be a fine line between like developed landscape and just organic, natural landscape. Wow. Okay, let's see what's next. You know, in all the years that we've been in Portugal, 6 years, we spent a lot of it in the countryside. I don't think I've ever seen a snake. Isn't that strange? I've never seen a predator either, like a fox or a wolf. I mean, a mountain lion, bears. I've never seen those. I've never seen that in Portugal. So when you're out here, you know, you don't necessarily have to worry about dangerous animals. However, the wild boars, that's another question. I don't think they really will attack if you aren't bothering them. And they usually come out at night. You know, I've actually never seen one. I've never seen one. I'm sure they're here. I'm sure they're all over here, but I've never seen them. Okay, let's talk about these things. So on the property, there's some fallen trees. There's some cut up trees that have just been kind of left in place. And you're looking at a couple hundred years before that degrades. And I just ain't got that kind of time. So the other landscape that we're gonna have to manage is the landscape along this road. Now, I know you guys remember when I was walking down this road last time, how I slipped. I got a couple of jokes in the comments. I haven't forgotten who those people are either. I better not see you in Portugal if you come to a meetup, because I'm gonna make fun of you for slipping. Okay, so keeping our perimeter nice and clear. Also, some fire prevention type stuff. That's where we have to do a lot of work down here. Now, I don't know the name of this plant right here, but this plant, from what I understand, it can get really out of control. If you let these things grow and get out of hand, they can just become giant, because I have seen properties where the whole property has been overtaken by these things. But they run all the way along our property down to the water. Oh, here's one right here. Okay, so these have gotten out of control. You see how tall these are? They are giant. And they can completely take over a hillside like they've done here. It becomes like its own tree. I'm not sure why they weren't cut down before, but this is what I'm concerned about. If these get out of hand, our forest area will be overrun by these. And the problem is, if it gets completely overrun, we can't really walk through the forest. We're basically, we have to walk through like we're going through the Amazon with a machete. And so those are completely overgrown. Now, at a certain point, we're gonna have a path that goes from our house up there directly down to the water and to our pier over here. But that's later on down the road. We'll get to that point sooner than you think. Now, this is the last piece of landscape that we need to talk about. The water access landscape is going to be very, very important. It has not been managed or taken care of very well. In fact, there's so much to talk about down here with the pier. I think I see the ladder for the pier in the water over there. You know what? We probably need to dedicate a video just to the master plan that we have for our waterfront and pier area. So I'm not going to talk about the landscape that is at the waterfront. I'm going to save that for a future video. But the thing that we have to keep in mind is that a landscape plan for this property is not something that you can implement overnight. Everything that we have planned and designed, we know that it's going to take time. And it's something that when you have a property like this, you work on it as you enjoy it. That's actually a part of the experience. Getting to come out here and work on it as a family, with your friends, while you also enjoy it. To me, that's a part of the experience. That's a part of the enjoyment of owning the property, is getting to come out and do an endless amount of projects, being out in the sun, at the water, out in nature. And that's why we love this property. We love the fact that it gives us endless opportunities to be outside and do what we love to do, work with our hands. So if you guys have liked this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure that you're subscribed to our channel and join the journey.